Okay, there's some big breaking news coming in, flashes of which you can see on your screen. This is about the spot fixing controversy in cricket. Former Test captain of Pakistan, Salman Butt, has been found guilty of cheating and of accepting money. Whereas fast bowler Mohammad Asif has been found guilty of the conspiracy to cheat. This is a decision coming in from a British court. Our sports editor Gaurav Kalra joining us from our newsroom. Gaurav, any other details available? What is the punishment like for these two?
Right now, Ananya, we will have to wait for sentencing to find out. The maximum punishment in this case is 7 years. So we will have to wait to find out what the punishment is. That sentencing procedure, I'm sure, will go on as in time to come. However, this is a significant moment for the game of cricket. Let there be no doubt about that. Players have been found guilty of conspiracy and conspiracy to cheat in a criminal trial. This goes well beyond what's happened in similar cases in the past, where players have been banned for indulging in match fixing. In this scenario, the cricket has now experienced another situation, a situation that has never happened in the past, where cricketers have been found guilty in a criminal trial. The details will start coming in some time, but what we are getting initially out of London from the first reports that are coming in is that they have been found guilty, both Salman Butt and Mohammad Asif. Remember, Mohammad Amir was not on trial because he had pleaded guilty before the trial began, and the fourth person on trial was Mazhar Majid, who was the bookie, the infamous bookie who was seen with all the cash in front of him in the initial News of the World investigation, and he also pleaded guilty to the charges before the trial began. So all of this, the procedure of law will take over from now on, but I think it's significant to just focus on the verdict that's come, which says Salman Butt and Mohammad Asif are both guilty in the spot fixing trial.
Right, you're saying it's an important verdict just in the game of cricket itself. It's a criminal trial that was held in London. We are seeing those pictures, Gaurav, of that no ball being bowled during the Lord's Test against England. Take us through that entire episode.
You know, Ananya, as this will unfold, it's very important to remember what has happened in this case. As soon as the News of the World investigation came out, the Pakistan Cricket Board banned these players. Then the Pakistan Cricket Board suspended their contracts, and the ICC actually suspended the players from international cricket pending an investigation. These players were then allowed to proceed to Pakistan. Those are the pictures you're seeing of them actually leaving for Pakistan from England, and an ICC tribunal listened to them. That ICC tribunal, after a long hearing in Qatar, actually decided to ban these players, but that was as far as the ICC could go. However, this became a criminal case as in the British courts, and as a result of that, now this verdict has come. We're just trying to get the first reactions out of London. Sanjay Suri. Sanjay, just what are you hearing from their political editor in Europe for CNN IBN, just telling us what he's hearing from court?
Well, there were two charges principally. One was accepting corrupt payment. The second was conspiracy to cheat. Now, the jury has held Salman Butt guilty on both these charges. Mohammad Asif, there was a hung jury on the first charge, which is accepting corrupt payments, because there was a split opinion among the jury, since money was not actually found on him, but he was also held guilty of conspiracy to cheat. Now the judge has ordered the jury this minute to go back and deliberate again on the charge against Mohammad Asif of accepting corrupt payments, and whether they can come to a decision, if not a unanimous decision, then at least an overwhelming majority decision.
Okay, now,
but Salman but yes, please.
No, go ahead, Sanjay. I also have reactions coming in from around India, but before I take them, Sanjay, just what's gone on procedurally here? We are also hearing now that Salman Butt could now face up to 7 years in prison, and that, I think, is the extreme limit of punishment that can be handed out. That remains a fact now, and after the guilty verdict has come, it's now pretty clear that Salman Butt will face imprisonment. The exact nature of that is unknown.
Yeah, the extent of the sentence is unknown. We haven't had the sentencing yet. Whether there is a prison sentence, which seems likely, or there may be further arguments that they should be allowed to get away with a fine. in any case, it is quite likely also that given the very long deliberations, the trial lasted 17 days, the jury sat for 16 hours, that given that there was a difference of opinion that was very significant, it is very likely that the Sabbat and Asif will go in appeal to a higher court. And also, meanwhile, we do not have the exact sentencing yet, the exact extent of imprisonment, because the jury has gone back to deliberate now on the first charge against Asif.
All right, we'll keep coming back to Sanjay Suri, but I'm just going to try and get reactions now on what's happened with this very significant day as more and more information trickles in. Harsha Bhogle, thank you for joining us. Just first thoughts, Harsha, you've been around cricket for a long time, but this is in many ways a seminal day.
It depends on which way you look at it, Gaurav. It's a very bad day if you're a Pakistan cricket follower. It's a very bad day if you're Asif or Salman. But looking at it from the ICC's point of view and the long-term view, long-term prospects of match fixing, it might actually be a good day. Because apart from deterrence and apart from educating people on the ills, the ICC really doesn't have any teeth. And here is an example of what could happen to you if you did things that were banned by not allowed by the ICC, but you are caught doing so. So now there is a far greater element of fear than there was hitherto. So I think from the ICC's perspective, from the perspective of the game, from the fact that match fixing now is a greater deterrence, this might not be such a bad day, you know.
Harsha, just the image of a cricketer in handcuffs, that's something that we haven't ever had to endure. However, that seems a very real possibility, because from everything that we are hearing now coming out of London, it does seem that Salman Butt for sure is going to face time in prison.
Well, we've seen that in other sport, and I think we are too romantic to assume that it may not happen in cricket. But I think that image will be a huge deterrent, because you get all kinds of people in sport anywhere. We've always believed that cricket was above this, but we now know that all that was being talked about in hushed undertones, all that was being mentioned in dispatches here and there, was not actually all wrong. So to that extent, the game will take a bit of a blow, because people will now start thinking that it does happen far more than people actually did think. But now from a playing perspective, people will start thinking, hang on, I don't want to spend time in jail. I'd much rather be playing cricket.
Harsha, just reflecting on this entire process and what's gone on over the last year or so, it is quite clear that the evidence was compelling. There was no doubt after the videos emerged that the players had a very strong case to answer for. But in the way that it has been handled by the ICC first, in being robust in its investigation and then its follow-up, and how it's been handled criminally in London, it is in many ways going to be the deterrent that perhaps cricket needed.
It is, and I'm delighted by one other thing. I'm delighted that this thing came to fruition as quickly as it eventually did, because far too long we on the subcontinent have had, or certainly to a lesser extent in South Africa, where they finish things off fairly quickly. You've had these long commissions, you've had these long hearings, and then nothing really happens. You've got cases going on and on and on. Nobody really presents evidence. There's talk of evidence existing somewhere, but it's all sort of, you know, in hushed tones, not to be talked about. So I'm delighted that something like this has actually come out as quickly as it has. While the case is still fresh in court, we're hearing things that have actually happened. So from that point of view, I'm happy, because I'm happy it's not got buried in long drawn-out court procedures.
All right, from Harsha, just some information that we are getting now, starting to hear that the conspiracy to cheat charge has stuck on Mohammad Asif. So from first reports that we are getting, it might be so that that charge does not carry a prison sentence. The jury, as Sanjay Suri was telling us earlier, he's just outside court, is going back now. So I'm sure more information will trickle in as time goes on. Also a little bit of a cruel twist of fate. Harsha, Salman Butt's wife is delivering a child today.
Well, that makes it a little more filmy, though, doesn't it? Like we've seen that in the movies. But you know, I actually believe that the actual sentencing might be a subplot from a cricketing point of view. I know from a legal point of view it is critical, but from a cricketing point of view, the fact that they have been held guilty in public, and the fact that a cricketer can be held guilty in public, I think the case has already served its purpose, as far as I'm concerned. It might turn out to be 6 months in jail, it might turn out to be 3 months, it might turn out to be a very solid rap on the knuckles. But I think people now know that if I do something, I could get caught. So at least at a very, very basic level, it will prevent cricketers from talking to people they shouldn't be talking to. And that is something the ICC has striven for a long time with no teeth to try and accomplish. So the sentencing might take its own course, but as far as I'm concerned from a cricketing perspective, the example has already been set.
Yes, and Harsha, we often speak of, the problems that Pakistan cricket are confronted with, the problems that never seem to go away. However, in some ways, we need to separate this incident or these three contrived no balls as separate from all the disciplinary issues that seem to surround Pakistan cricket. Because as is now proven in the course of this case, it is criminal to be cheating the paying public and not giving them sport in its purest form, and that's the message that's going out after this trial.
It is, and it's an absolutely wonderful message that's going out, because a lot of people, and my mind goes back to about 99-2000 when a lot of people in India lost faith briefly, and it's always been one of my regrets that Indian cricket rediscovered its faith far too quickly, that it didn't hurt enough, that there was not enough pain, that people should have stayed away from the game a little longer for the game to cleanse itself. So from that point of view, yes, it's a wonderful, it's something nice that has happened from that point of view.
Harsha, what about the lessons for the world game in general? And I'm sorry we're lingering on this a little bit even as more information comes in, because this is a significant moment, as I said at the top of this broadcast, for world cricket. But what is the message that goes out to the wider cricketing world beyond obviously the message of it being a deterrent? Because after all, Salman Butt, Mohammad Asif, Mohammad Amir were significant international players. Amir was this great rising talent. Butt was the captain of Pakistan. Asif, one of the game's most romanticized bowlers in a sense.
Look, I don't know if it will be fair for us to comment on whether this is a reflection of what happens in society in Pakistan, because we really don't know. But I think something good can come out of it in Pakistan. We've talked about the good that can come out of this sentencing. The bad that will come out is that more and more people will believe that this has been going on all the time. And that in future, when things do happen, and boasts always take place, Gaurav, you've heard those, I've heard those, being on the circuit for a while, where people claim that certain things were meant to happen after they actually happened. And people will actually start to believe that. So for a while, I think the game will hurt. But I think from a cricketer's perspective, I think there's a huge education. From the fans' perspective, maybe there'll be a few more skeptics who'll start thinking this is happening all along. But in the long run, I think, yes, this will be good.
Just putting some more information out for our viewers now, that's starting to trickle in. Also, the jury is back in now, so we haven't heard the final bit on this. What the jury is now considering is a final count of conspiracy to accept corrupt payments, and that is against Mohammad Asif. So Asif is not completely in the clear for the moment. Also, Harshad, it seems like the legal procedure that was followed in London was very thorough here. It seemed like there was clarity, and the case only went into trial when the prosecutor was quite convinced that they had a strong case to go after sportsmen, because it is, you would think from the outside, quite a difficult thing to prove that someone was intentionally bowling no balls.
And yet that is how the pursuit of justice must always be, shouldn't it? That you do not take a case to court unless you have you're completely convinced yourself. And that very often, and certainly that's what I've read over the years in some great cases in India as well, that most of the legwork, most of the homework is already done before the case goes to trial, and the prosecution must have a watertight case, because otherwise the prosecution loses respect. And I'm delighted that in this case that actually happened. And to me, it's almost like we've had this myth, we've had this belief that justice goes faster and fairer in England than it does in other parts of the world. So to that extent, it's a big plus for them. I read some of the transcripts, I read some of the lines of questioning, and I was very impressed, I must admit. So you get the feeling that it was a case where a lot of homework was done, and yet you must wonder at where the evidence actually came from. The evidence did not come from a legal body, from a police body, it did not come from the administrative body or a governing body. It came because a newspaper wanted to do it to protect itself. So on such things is justice eventually served.
Yes, and incredibly, that newspaper no longer exists, as we've come to know. Okay, more information coming in, and we'll keep feeding this to our viewers as it comes in. Salman Butt has been found guilty on both offences. Let me just repeat that, both offences. Asif's been found guilty of one charge, but he's not clear in the other because the jury is back now. And in fact, the latest information that we are getting is that Mohammad Asif has also been found guilty of the conspiracy to cheat. We also got the feeling, didn't we, Harsha, reading the transcripts coming out of the London court, that the players had actually turned on each other, but wanted to distance himself from what Asif and Amir did because they were the perpetrators of the no ball. But the prosecution went after Butt as the kingpin of the fixing procedure.
I must confess that I was fairly surprised at the ease and the quickness with which Salman Butt and Mohammad Asif went at each other and tried to protect themselves. So it was to me that was an indicator that maybe one was trying to protect oneself at the expense of the other. But I can see why Salman Butt's case came up first, the decision came up first, because in cricket we still put the leader on a pedestal, we still put the captain on a pedestal. One of the things that came out with the Azharuddin case in India, but even more so dramatically because there was a legal entity involved with the King Commission in South Africa, was that the captain enjoys the trust of the team and the public. And in a sense, if the leader is goading his teammates on, then that is seen to be a far greater crime. With Hansi Cronje, it was a young Herschel Gibbs, it was an even less experienced Henry Williams, if you remember. Those are the players. And one of the things that was held against Hansi Cronje was that he was leading younger players on. And I think you're seeing that a bit with Salman Butt and Mohammad Amir here. And that is why I won't be surprised if the Butt case was decided much faster than the Asif case, because it was an example of a leader leading a younger person astray.